What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to Beyond the Trail podcast. And we are excited. We have already been laughing behind the scenes. And the gentleman that is our guest this evening, I'm telling you right now, it is going to be a barrel of laughs. I tried not to laugh as we came on here because we've been already laughing. So I am one of your hosts, Julie Gayheart, otherwise known as Jester. And this gentleman right here with me, Austin, is another host of the show. Welcome back.
What's up, folks? We've got looks like we've got our very first kayakers in the chat. So Beyond the Trail podcast, by its name, you can infer that we talk to mostly hikers.
Not tonight.
We got a few kayakers in the chat today. So yeah. So thanks for everybody for listening in.
Yeah, I'm excited to have the paddlers on board. Because honestly, I have been watching our guest videos. I tried to go way back in the archives, and some of them, the sound was a little sketchy. I heard more of the river, which was wonderful. So now, I mean, I am looking at kayaks. I'm trying to figure out all this language. I feel like I need an interpreter when I'm watching these videos.
Drinking that Kool-Aid.
I am drinking the Kool-Aid, so we don't want to waste any time. We want to get to our guest. But Austin, we got something going on this weekend that we are excited about. So why don't you tell everybody what we got going on?
Yeah, so coming up, it's actually started already, but North Carolina, I can't talk today. North Carolina Trail Days in Elkin is kicking off this weekend, and we are going to be there starting tomorrow. We'll be there tomorrow and Saturday. And Saturday at 10 a.m. at the Reeves Theater, swing by, because Julie and I are going to be there, and we're doing a live premiere of the full-length version of I Am the MST. So pretty darn excited about that. I'm not going to lie. From a creator standpoint, watching something that we put together in a movie theater is going to be pretty cool. So we're going to do kind of like a question and answer session with the folks that are there, about the production, about talking to folks about the trail itself. And then we'll watch, it's a full length version of I Am the MST. Right now, all that's out there are the 4 episodes up on Side Trail Adventures. And so what I've done for this event is made a full length feature version of that with all 4 episodes linked together. So yeah, it's going to be fun. So if you're in the Elkin area, swing by. It'll be good times.
And listen, there's a lot of paddling outside of Elkin. So get your kayaks loaded up, and why not? You could paddle part of the Mountains of Sea Trail. So there you go. And I was remiss earlier in mentioning our brand partner over at Jester Wallis Productions. And our brand partner is Hiker Metals. And Wim, the owner of Hiker Metals, was on our last episode. So I'm going to have you guys go back episode number 5 and hear all about Hiker Metals, how that got started, all that wonderful stuff. If you're interested, you can go to hikermetals.com, and there is a 20% discount code on your first order. Now, there were some gangsters out there that tried to do multiple orders.
Internet trolls.
And I don't blame them. So on your first order, 20% off, hikermetals.com. And before Austin introduces our guest, I don't have a particular size sticker that a lot of people probably in this chat may or may not have, because I think you have to earn this particular sticker, right? You have to earn it.
Well, that sticker.
Wait a minute. Don't unveil the story, because our guest is a true gangster, and I'm gonna tell you why. We had a premiere back in September. Our premiere, me and Austin, premiering one of our 10-minute videos about the Mountains of Sea Trail. And there was a table as people walked in, and it had information about the Mountains of Sea Trail and some stickers, I think, for the Mountain to Sea Trail.
No, I had some Side Trail Adventure stickers.
Oh, did you? Okay. Yeah. So after everybody was, heading out and I was helping clean up, on that table, right when people walked in, were these stickers. And I said, how in the blankety blank did this sticker end up on this table? So I took it. There were several stickers. I actually have several.
They're highly coveted.
So I earned it gangster style. And that's Pete. And you know what? And why not put him out at the table? That's what I said. Why not, right? Why not? So that was my first introduction to Pete. Putting stickers out at somebody else's event. And now he's coming on the podcast. So Austin, I'm going to turn it over to you. And again, I am very thankful for everybody that is in the chat. I'm going to try to manage the chat this evening as we are chatting. And if you guys have questions, please put them in the chat. And toward the end of the episode, we'll have a fire away Q&A with Pete before we close out. So Austin, I will turn it over to you.
Well, I don't think, just looking at who we've got in the chat, our guest needs no introduction, but I am going to speak to our regular viewers, our regular listeners, our hikers out there. Our guest tonight is Mr. Pete Beck. He has a YouTube channel over on YouTube called River Kings, and he is inching up probably in the next week to 2 weeks. He's going to be inching up on 21,000 subscribers, which is a pretty big deal. And so with that kind of audience, he has kind of created a community, whether he intended to create one or not. That's what happened. And so that's what I want to talk about tonight. Pete is a class 5 whitewater kayaker. He does kayaking expeditions, which is right up my alley. And so I got to know Pete coming up on 3 years ago. We met for the first time in 2020 and just hit it off. And Pete's one of my good friends. We talk at least once or twice a week, just about stuff in general, about life. And so, yeah, I wanted to get Pete on here because the premise for this podcast, for Beyond the Trail, is that we have this love of the outdoors, whether it's hiking, biking, and in Pete's case, kayaking. But we have this thing that we love to do. And this love, this passion created something else. We pursued something else. In our case, we created a podcast, or I created a YouTube channel. Julie created her Jester Section Hiker podcast. And so in Pete's case, I think it's the River King community and the River King brand, for lack of a better term. So I'm going to bring him on here. Mr. Pete Beck, the River King. What's going on, brother?
Hey, guys.
Maybe I should play the applause button. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. Oh, man. Well,
this is going to be fun.
Me. Oh, yeah. Good stuff.
And,
yeah, thanks for having me on the show.
Do you want to explain to people what you did?
I am not actually 100% sure that I did that. I try to give those stickers out, and a lot of times people throw them away when I'm not looking or give them back. Or probably I tried to give it to somebody and they put them on the shelf. That's all. I mean, that's my story.
I can give an answer there because you surprised me that morning because that was our premiere out in Hillsboro. So you showed up at the Hillsboro Library with a bunch of hikers, and I told you to put those stickers out. I think so. That's what I'm going to say.
So Austin's the real gangster. Okay,
yeah.
I got it.
Oh yeah.
I got it.
Well, that was a fun event. That was y'all had put a lot of work into that video, and Austin would send me proofs like, okay, I've spent 3 lifetimes on this 3-second little clip, whatever. He's like, tell me what you think, and I would give him some feedback, and it was amazing. It's an amazing video. I said, this is ready for TV. I mean, it's that good, and so I just wanted to support you guys for all the work both of y'all put into the interviews and the production. The editing there. So, and I like hiking too. So it's not far. I didn't have anything going on. I said, I can just support a couple friends. So
throw out a couple stickers and here we go. And they're already giving you junk in the chat because they're like, oh, if his head gets any bigger, he'll need bigger headphones. And then somebody says he borrowed P5's gaming headset. So
That is true. That is true. I borrowed P5s. I had Ryan's and it was pink. And
I'm a little disappointed you didn't use that one.
that is
it
disappointing.
was close. It was close. I almost came down here with pink headphones, but fortunately, Pete saved me and said, "Here, just use these, Dad." And so now we're back to normal.
Well, they look good, and I hope they sound good in your ears.
They do.
But anyways, what I want to do, I know you've probably talked about how you got into kayaking and started the channel and everything like that, probably 11,000 times at this point. I will ask you those questions, but I also want to make sure we get to the River King community, talk about feedthehunger.org, the merch. Because obviously we've got a lot of folks that know you in the chat, but we got a lot of folks that listen to the podcast that don't kayak. So this is your opportunity to break into a new demographic.
Right on.
Ooh, you go, Austin. Wow.
But anyway, so let's go back to how did you even start getting into kayaking? Because you're pretty legit. You've done some pretty legit whitewater kayaking in your day. So how did that even start?
I'll go back a little further. Even the coolest adventure I did as a kid was actually a 50-miler on the Appalachian Trail when I was about 11, I think, with Royal Rangers, which is like Boy Scouts, and I did a lot of backpacking growing up. And then the next cool trip we did was a canoe trip to Algonquin Park up in Canada. Did that as a young teenager with my dad, and there was something about the water, being on the water, taking your craft across the lakes, and just being out in the wilderness that I just fell in love with. And so I've always liked being on the water boating, but mostly it was in canoes. My dad went to buy a canoe so he and my mom could go canoeing, and turns out he found one that had a kayak as part of the deal. So he called me and said, "Would you like to buy the kayak part of this? I'll keep the canoe, you keep the kayak." I was like, "Sure."
Why not?
Okay. And so it was an Old Town Otter, which is the wreck boat of its day. And I got on the Hall River with that thing, and I was like, where has this thing been my whole life? And it was like going from a school bus, which was a canoe, to a dirt bike. And I was like, oh man, this is where it's at. So we did that for a few weeks. And then I started looking at whatever video I could find. YouTube was still pretty new. But I see these whitewater kayaks, and I'm like, oh yeah, those things. And I quickly realized I was needing to make a move into a men's department of kayaking versus the kids department. I was like, okay, this is a beginner kayak, and so I need one of those. So I purchased a used whitewater kayak, and kind of got into a couple forums. There was no Facebook at the time. A couple forums where people would post where they were going, and the more experienced kayakers would help you out. And the rest is kind of history. I just fell in love with it, and there's little in life I like more than kayaking. It really doesn't matter what kind. I just love kayaking.
So you're getting into the whitewater kayaking. You've got some OG whitewater videos out there that I noticed haven't gotten a lot of visibility. So hopefully people will start digging in the bottom of your channel and look at some of those. But where a lot of people, I don't think a lot of people were doing, the GoPros were, I can't remember when GoPro started being a thing.
No, when I started, they weren't GoPros. It was like a 2-megapixel camera you pulled out of your pocket that was waterproof, and you thought you were doing something. And so you'd capture someone else or give them your phone to say, hey, film me as I fall off this wet rock into a pool below, and whatever we were doing. But GoPros came about. Well, they come out with one every year, so I guess we're at like 11 years ago, almost 12 years ago. So every September, the new model comes out. So yeah, so I guess about 12 years.
So you got whitewater kayaking in your belt. How did the kayak camping thing come into play? Because that's kind of like you've already mentioned, you did the canoeing as a kid and went to, Canada and Alaska and all those cool places. But probably one of the pillars of the River King channel is kayak camping.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So how did that transition even happen?
Well, growing up, like I said, I spent that program. As a kid, we'd go out at least once every month or two for a camp out somewhere in the state or maybe even beyond. And so camping was just in the DNA. I loved camping. And that Algonquin canoe trip kind of combined the two for the first time for me, a serious kind of adventure, waterborne, but you're still camping. So it was always kind of in the back of my mind. And when I got into whitewater, I would always mention to friends, hey, we should take these or something in the back and then camp overnight instead of getting off the river. Because in whitewater, normally you kind of go out for a few hours and you come off the river. You start, you stop, you go back home, and your day's done. And I was kind of missing the camping side of that. And so another part of my personality is loving to explore. And I remember talking to my dad after I'd been into whitewater for a good bit. And I said, I think for me, part of it is just exploring. Like, it doesn't be super exciting all the time. I just want to always know what's around that next bend. And it kind of never left. And my granddad, my mom's dad, Granddaddy Bilisali, told me of a trip he took down the Neuse when he was back in 1930, I believe, in a canoe with his brother all the way to the coast. And that always was legit. A story. Yeah. And so it's a story that was it resonated deep as a kid. And here I am with these kayaks now. And I said, I'm going to take a trip to the beach from here, from Burlington. And I planned it that summer. I got a couple boats, had about 5 or 6 people lined up to go with me. And one by one, they all kind of backed out, and I was left there to do a solo trip. And I launched out of Saxe-Bahá and paddled 241 miles to the coast in 6 days. And that was a lot of paddling. It wasn't fun anymore. It was just like getting through it. And I was trashed. I mean, I had abs of steel, but it took me 10 minutes to get out of my hammock in the morning because I was like, oh, my back, my stomach. Had duct tape all over my fingers. I wasn't ready for that amount of paddling, but I made it and loved it and told all my friends about it, and they all wanted to go, and but they would never go, so I just kept going solo. And then this kind of segues into probably another question you're at, how did it all start? But
yep.
That's how the camping started. It was just a way for me to expand what I was doing in whitewater into multi-day camping, and I absolutely love it. I like it as much as whitewater, maybe. I don't know. Sometimes I tell people if I have to give up one, I might give up whitewater and do long trips, because you can have whitewater in those trips. It just depends on what river you choose. So yeah, as you know.
So where did the River Kings come from? That's what I am interested in. And for those that aren't familiar, where does that story play in? I mean, did you have the name before you started throwing stuff up on YouTube, or did you say, I need a name and here we go? Or
yeah, so I hadn't thrown anything up on YouTube except some raw files from those little cameras, just so my friends and I could watch them later, but it was not intended for public consumption. It's a video on YouTube, 20 seconds unedited. And so my wife bought me the GoPro after that first Source to Sea trip because I had nothing to share. I had a Sony Hi8. I would pull it out, and when it was safe and no water around, and put it back in the bag. And I didn't really have a lot of footage, but I had a lot of stories. So she said, you should film these trips if you're going to go on them. You should film them. That way we could all see what you're doing. I was like, that sounds pretty good. So here I go. I ask all my friends to go out with me and do one of these trips. And this time they all agreed to go. And so there were 6 of us going down the Fisher River, and I had to buy boats so that everybody could have something to paddle. None of them were kayakers, but they were all good friends. And that first trip, Fisher to the Yadkin, they were kind of miserable. It was a little bit chilly. They didn't have the right gear. Wet, raining. We pull up on the side of the river about halfway through the trip, and I tell them, there's a burger joint up here in a town called Rockford. and they wanted to believe there was a burger joint, but we were in the middle of nowhere, and the bank was about 10 or 15 feet tall. It was just pouring rain. So he kind of caught an eddy, which was probably the apex of their skill level, just being able to do it. We all got it. We got to the side of the river, and it was pumping. And we climbed to the top of the bank, and there's a bean field there, and nothing as far as the eye can see. And the guys, some of them believed, because we were doing a military job, and so most of us spent a good portion of our lives walking around the woods, orienteering and navigating and things like that, but not River King Brian. Brian was part of the exercise, but he didn't do the walking around so much. He was kind of a different asset, and he looked at me with the look like there's no burger joint anywhere. You couldn't fly a plane and see one from here. And well, we walked around the bean field, hopped the railroad tracks, found a dirt road. I said, should be right up here. And the whole time Brian's got that look like, I'm walking with you because I want to believe, but there's no burger joint. We've come around the corner, boom, 2-building town. One of them's an outfitter, one of them's a burger joint. And this is a like delicatessen burger. This is like amazing hamburgers. And so we all order a hamburger. And this was fantastic. We were all eating, but I looked at the guys and I said, you guys look like wet rats. Like literally you look like river gypsies. And Brian Hubbard was sitting there eating that hamburger, and he's like, between bites, like, but we're eating like kings, Pete, and river kings. And he took another bite, and River King Greg said, hey, Pete, that sounds pretty good, river kings. I like that. And it kind of we all started talking in medieval voices for the rest of the trip to kind of cheer each other up in the rain. And it's kind of in that first video, For the Mead of Rockford was the name of that episode. But yeah, so that's the name. The River Kings there's no aspirations or illusion of grandeur, or that we're actually good at anything. It's more like we feel like kings when we're out there on the river together, and all it takes is a hamburger and you feel like you're eating like a king. So that's the backstory on how the name came about.
Yeah,
and mind you, there was no thought to having a YouTube channel or naming it anything. It's just, sure, we're the River Kings, I guess. And so we went with it. And to kind of finish the story, well, not all of the friends went on the trip, but a lot of these folks worked with us, and we came up with the idea that we wanted to make them jealous. And so we came up with a sticker, River Kings, and it's the OG logo. I came up with that in the computer, and I said, yeah, he's got it on. And I made a couple stickers, and I actually ordered T-shirts for everybody on the trip, and they pitched in. And so you had to be on the trip to get a sticker and a T-shirt, and everybody wanted one, but we were like, no, you didn't go on the trip, sorry. And so when I put the video together, that's when I changed the YouTube channel to River Kings, because it was just Pete Beck. And I was like, hey, look, go to my channel if you want to see the video. And they're like, what does it say? River King? He's like, no, it's Pete Beck. It's like, wait, no, I can change that to River King. So I did. That's how we started the channel. It was just for us, and the name and the T-shirts and the logo was all just to make our friends jealous, to make them want to go kayaking with us next time. So that's how it all started. And
so that was the OG crew then, because you mentioned some other folks in there like Greg, and we've got River King Brian in the chat. So you're just one of the River Kings, right? Yeah.
I'm not the River King is not a moniker that I was seeking. It's more like we are the River Kings because we love being on the river, just traveling like gypsies, eating like kings, and no, it's definitely all of us together. It's a community-based thing. So just a group of friends on the river, and what could be better than that?
Exactly. Well, we have a couple comments, and I know in the chat on River Kings, you guys joke a lot, but I don't think this is a joke. Shannon says, sure glad he started the channel, changed the course of my life. I think that's a pretty non-joking comment. And River King Brian says, mine too, Shannon. Thomas Scott, amen, Shannon. So go, Shannon.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect segue into my next line of questioning, because I think the reason you're coming up on 21,000 subscribers is because whether you intended to or not, you created something that people identify with. And so I 100% agree with Shannon. Discovering River Kings and becoming part of that River King community has changed me as well.
Right on.
So I guess, when did you start the YouTube channel, you start doing the trip videos? I think it's probably the way a lot of YouTube channels started. That's how I started mine. It was just the course of like, I want to share videos with friends and family and that kind of thing.
Yep.
When did it start becoming, or when did you feel like it started becoming more than that? Like, because I know you did a whole bunch of kayak camping, and you had some whitewater in there, but you kind of made an entry back into whitewater a few years ago. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So I think one of the reasons it connects is that I'll use the word ragtag, because if you go to a professional kayaker's channel or someone making, TV quality adventures, who's a, world-class adventurer with all the skills, my friends, I was a kayaker, but they were not, but they were my friends. And so when I got to taking them on the trips, I had to kind of find a river that would fit within their skill set. And so that was a little bit of a challenge, but we all had fun doing it. And then the next river would be a little bigger, and the next river would be a little bigger. And so it became a thing where, as they could bite off more, we would do more. And they were just good people, good friends. And, I think what connects with a lot of people is that regular people can have fun doing this, not just a professional kayaker. And so I want the story to be about the friendship, the camaraderie, the challenges that we faced, the triumphs that are accomplished, or whatever the guys overcome, be it little or big, for whatever level you are. It's the same feeling. If you're Dane Jackson doing the world's biggest waterfall and setting new records on races and doing the fastest known times down rivers and things, for him that's the same level of accomplishment as to a day one kayaker, going through the biggest rapid they've ever done that to that point in their life. And so seeing that is happening, I just wanted to bring that story out. So the story is whoever I'm with, and I'm part of that as well. But if it's Brian chugging down the new river with a hurt back but finishing it, that's a big part of the story. If it's another friend swimming the last big rapid on a big trip, that's part of the story, and then he'll have chance for redemption next time. And, all those stories are just regular folks having
You referring to
fun
anybody in
with
particular with that little anecdote?
No, not at all. Not
Okay.
at all. But dessert is for winners. But so, yeah. So, yeah, it's very much a community thing, because I'm trying to make the accessibility of it, like, you don't have to be a professional to start doing this. Anybody can do it. And so getting back into whitewater, I never really gave it up. I just didn't do it as much, using all my brownie points for the long trips. And then my son wanted to become a whitewater kayaker. He came to me, Dad, I want to do this. And I was like, all right, cool. And he goes, no, I want to do the good stuff. I really want to do it. And he was 12. And so I told him, okay, well, you have to learn how to roll first. And after you learn how to roll, then I'll take you on the river. And so we went to a pool at my sister-in-law's, and from there, he spent probably an hour, and then he was getting close. And I figured that'll be it. That he'll be ready to get out now. And so he wasn't. He kept on going. And about 2 hours later, he was getting really close. And I thought, he might get this today. After 3 hours, he was rolling every time. Every time I was
Wow.
like, by golly, this little kid is serious about kayaking. And so I called several of my friends and said, hey, if you want to paddle with me in this next year or so, go get a whitewater boat, because I'm going to teach Pete, and I might as well teach all of you, because we're starting from scratch with him on the river, and that's what I'm going to be doing. I'd love for y'all to come do it too, and it'll only make your long trip, boating better, because whitewater will translate into all that other stuff as well.
And how long ago was that you started doing that you said, hey, everybody get your whitewater boats, let's go?
Yep. That was 3 years ago. He had just turned 12, and COVID had just hit. And so I had the kids all the time. They were out of school. And I had a group of friends that we were adventuring with, 6, 7, 8 of us. And I basically started filming, teaching the whitewater to my son and everyone else in there. And it kind of was exaggerated version of what I was already doing, where now you see the world's worst kayakers on YouTube. These are like the worst. They are. First day in a boat. Like, can't even get their skirt on. Like, okay, no, and then holding the paddle wrong and upside down. Like, and then 2 months later, they're doing pretty good. 6 months later, they're doing class 3. And, and after that first summer, my son was running 10, 12-foot waterfalls with me, class 4, having a big time, and seeing the progression from no skills in a whitewater boat to running class 3 and 4 for several of them. Some of them don't progress quite as fast, but that's fine too. There's a river for everybody. And then some people just skyrocket, like Jerry. Met Jerry pretty much at the beginning, and he's class 5 boater now, and instructor and everything else. And I think the channel really took a big bump from that, because not only am I doing the kayak camping trips, but now it was like much more often doing the whitewater. And I kind of have a whole generation of paddlers out there, a lot of them much, much better than myself now. Some of these young kids even, some of these young pros started on the River Kings back when the videos I was putting out maybe had some value for them, and now they're the professional level boaters. And so it's been really fulfilling and satisfying to be able to see that kind of take hold in the community and add value to boaters out there. If it helps them learn how to do this or that, or if it gives them a network of people to get out and enjoy life with. I think it's good on a lot of levels.
Now, there is one aspect of your channel that I think a lot of people identify with. I can personally vouch for the fact that I identify with it. But it's this sound that happens on your videos when someone comes out of a kayak.
Yes.
Can you speak to that at all?
That is what is known as the swimmer bell. So the origin of the swimmer bell.
No, that's not it. That's not it,
not
right?
The one. That's not it.
That would be good, though. So there's a stigma to swimming in whitewater. No one wants to swim, which is natural. And when you do swim, a lot of people are kind of ashamed of it or try to hide it. And so I think that kind of that's not the reason I started the bell, but it's just an underlying shame of swimming, fear of swimming. It's like everyone wants not to swim, and if they do, then it's the end of the world. Put that on the shelf. Just know that that's there. Kevin Champ, he's in here, the wandering electrician, was boating a lot with a guy named Shane Dublin, who is the monkeying around guy. And they were from the Yadkin River area, and so they just kind of became friends and started boating a lot of the same rivers. And every time they'd go, Shane would swim and Kevin would not. But Kevin, newer to kayaking, would not assist Shane in any way. He would just be like over there in the eddy, like, see if you can get over here. Shane, poor guy's tumbling down the river, and it was a mess. And so Kevin, I realized he's pretty good. He's a pretty good boater. He's got the it thing. It comes naturally to him. He never swims. They weren't on really hard water.
He says he feels attacked.
Never swims. Yeah, and so he should. So I called Shane and I said, "Hey, I've got a plan." And Shane's like, "All right, what you got?" I was like, "You know how Kevin never swims, right?" He goes, "Yeah." I kind of like where this is going, and I said, "Well, I got a river I think he'll swim on." He goes, "You think he will?" I was like, "Well, no, I know he'll swim this river." And he goes, "What is it?" It's called Wilson Creek. And the plan was to take Kevin out to Wilson Creek. And however many times he swims, because it's it's inevitable. He's going to swim this river. It's a Class 4 whitewater river. And I'm going to take Shane later, and then through the magic of editing, the number of swims Kevin has, no matter how many times Shane actually swims, Shane will be less of a number than Kevin. And so I'll just make it edit perfectly that way. That way Shane will finally have a leg up on Kevin. And so I called Kevin up, and he agreed. And I also knew Kevin would be good at whitewater. So there's another motive. I'd have another whitewater buddy. I called him up and said, hey, man, come on and get your whitewater on. And so the Wilson Creek is special because it canalizes at really low flows. And so it's bedrock. And as the water gets lower and lower to just a minuscule flow, it still runs through these little channels. And so you can get on this, and it's more like wet rocks, like sliding boards and things. And a lot of people swim and play in these rapids when it's really low. So we kind of went out on one of those days, and he swam 13 times. And
how many times?
At the time, 13.
13. Okay, that's what I thought you said.
13 swims in one day. Had the time of his life.
Just because.
Just because. He still holds the record. So, yeah. He went out the next day or two, or that week he had his own kayaking kit, whitewater. And so he fell in love with it. But when I made the video, I wanted to accentuate each swim. And I figured this loud bell would do it. So every time he bong popped up from out of the water swimming, bong, and there was a number on the screen, number 1, number 2, and people loved it. I thought, it would just be a fun way to point out the swims. And then so they said, you got to keep the swimmer bell. So the next time I took some newer boaters out, I noticed people swimming, so I put the bell up. Before that, it used to be flipped but not forgotten, and I would put a little thing at the end of the videos for all the trippers who flipped. And so, but yeah, the swimmer bell became a thing, and what it did was it grew to this thing where everybody swims. I kind of wanted to point that out. Like, if I swim, it's on there. If anybody swims, it's on there. And some people would be like, hey, if I swim, please don't put it on the channel. I'm like, you're with the wrong guy.
That's not how it works.
It's not how it works.
Well, from what I could tell, it's almost like a competition in the chat when you have a video. People are like, who's going to swim? Who's going to swim? I always put Austin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That hurts. That hurts my feelings. But I won't say that it's unwarranted either.
So what I did is I made the bell itself. There's a small sticker. I got him. Oh. I thought I had them. I don't have them with me. I failed. Wait a minute. Doggone it. I wasn't prepared. But I've got a 1-inch sticker, is the swimmer bell. And so if you swim on my camera and you make it into a YouTube video, you're in the River King swim team. It's an elusive club. The only way to get in is to swim on camera for the world to see. And it kind of turns a negative into a positive. Like, okay, you swam just like the rest of us, so join the club, So kind of trying to break down that stigma of swimming as something to be ashamed of, or something that's not part of the learning process, because it is, and it will happen. And it doesn't matter who you are. The best kayakers in the world still swim. Most of the time they just don't post theirs because they're vying for a competitive sponsorship spot or one of the top pro spots or something. So they want the best foot forward out there. Someone like me, I've got nothing to hide, nothing to, it is what it is. If I swim, it's up there. If Austin swims, it's up there. We just live for that swimmer bell.
Well, it makes it fun because somebody like me, I mean, I've kayaked before, but it's like not going to the men's store and getting a kayak. It's all it's surface level kayaking. But as I'm, watching your videos on Sunday evening, that's part of, I'm trying to learn what's going on because the chat is so active and that bell,
Yep.
everything going on. That's why I said, or I don't even know if I said this, I need an interpreter when I'm watching this. So you talking about all these things right now is really helping me learn and have more fun in the chat. And I commend you for that because you could totally keep an audience. It's awesome. And there is a question before we move on. Patrick Hawkins, what's more fun, whitewater or distance?
Yes.
Whitewater and distance.
Yes.
Yes, you don't have to choose. Probably, I mean, the distance is so much more immersive. It's a complete kayaking experience. You're in nature, weather, the distance, whatever comes, expectation versus reality, and that's part of day 3, which is coming up, is acceptance works better than expectation on these long trips. Acceptance is working with the reality you have. Expectation is what you want the trip to be, and when that doesn't always happen, sometimes that leaves you kind of grinding against reality. It's kind of a weird place. So learning to kind of put the expectations behind you, and move on and trudge through, because it's a mental thing. Some of these trips are 40 miles a day of just trudging through it, and you just got to keep paddling. It's going to get better. It may get better in 2 or 3 days. You got to keep going through the bad part to get to the good part. So you can grow a lot. Whitewater, same thing. It's in its own way. It's forcing you to make sometimes, life and death decisions if you're in the upper realm of whitewater, and it grows you as a person there too. So if you can combine the two, now you're camping, now you're in it, now you see the maturation of a river. You start where it's small. Sometimes you end where it's a mile wide at the ocean or wherever you're doing. It's just a more complete experience. But it takes a little more intestinal fortitude to do the long trips, because it's not always fun like whitewater is. Whitewater is, it's either fun or scary, but whitewater, it's something happening every minute. And the long trips, you have time to be alone with your thoughts sometimes, and with your friends, and just kind of, sometimes it just feels like you're just aimlessly paddling. But you just got to get through the doldrums to get back to the good stuff. So I take them both. But if I had to choose between your traditional whitewater and the long trips, I'd probably take the long trips. I think I like it better.
Oh yeah, 100%. Now, changing gears a little bit, Julie, are you wearing River King uniform merchandise?
I am not. Although I have River King merchandise already, and I am part of this merch release that is closed, I think, now. Not only I got 2 more things. Actually, I have 3 more things coming. 2 shirts, and I love trucker hats. So I have a River Kings trucker hat all the way. And the only reason I did not wear the shirt is because it's a long sleeve hoodie, and I get hot for some reason when we go live. This big light is on me. So yeah. So I got short sleeves on. I'm so sorry.
Oh, well, I'm sporting some the OG logo, but you've got a whole bunch of merchandise, and it kind of grew from like t-shirts and hats to like now you've got cotton t-shirts, you've got a changing robe, you got boonie hats, you got trucker hats, you got beanies, you got all kinds of stuff. But one of the things that I think sets you and the channel apart is that lots of people sell merchandise. Lots of people sell stuff on the internet. But you're not really making any money on this stuff. Talk about that.
No, so part of the thing with the channel, that what I don't like about a YouTube channel is when you go to watch a video and it's some guy with an itinerary, and he's sometimes the people are using a venue like kayaking or whatever it is to peddle, to make their money and I didn't want it. I do this for the love of it and not for the money. So I don't want to come across as someone who's peddling merch on YouTube like everyone else. I'm not actually trying to make a living from it. So, but there was a lot of people wanting t-shirts and hats, and Brian and I and Greg and some of the others talked about it, because we kind of kept that to ourselves. Like, I might give a sticker away, but the hat and the t-shirt is kind of for us, like we're the gang. But I thought about it, it's like, a lot of people want to be a part of this, and there's no real reason to not open that up. If I saw, something I want to be a part of, I think it'd be cool to wear a t-shirt. So I thought about it and I said, you know what I want to do is I'll sell the merch, but I want to donate the money to charity. And so the natural charity that first came to mind is feedthehunger.org, which is run by my best friends. I have a couple best friends in my life, and one of them that I went to high school with, his dad started the ministry, and now his older brother Joseph runs it, and that's Feed the Hunger. It was called New Directions, but they basically, their mission is to feed hungry people all over the world. And I thought, it'd be nice, whatever this thing grows to be. If it's $100-$200 the first merch sale, I thought that'd be cool. We can donate that. And then it's been growing. So I just want it to be for something bigger than just selling T-shirts and hats on the internet. My wife does pretty good. I keep myself pretty busy doing contract work of various sorts. And so I'm not trying to do it to make money, but it is fun to grow the thing. And if we can help feed hungry kids, it's a win-win for everybody. And so basically, sometimes I feel like an Amway salesman. If you know Amway, they don't do down products. Like, I dated a girl whose parents were Amway once, way back, and it was awkward. Like, if I was chewing gum, like, we sell gum. I'm like, so I feel that way now. If I'm wearing something, it's usually River Kings. So I just basically make everything I would want to wear on the trips. And so now my wife is pleasantly elated and surprised some days when I'm not wearing River King merch and I'm just normal clothes. She's like, "Oh, good, you dressed up." It's just a different T-shirt, but I just wear the stuff everywhere. But no cotton. I like the stuff that I would take on a trip and be around water with. But we do the cotton now, so a lot of people requested it. So yeah, that's the merch thing. It's fun stuff. It's fun to see the stuff out and about when you're walking around somewhere and you see someone with a sticker or a hat or a shirt. You're like, "Hey, that's me." But it really is fun when everyone comes to the Pack-a-thon right before Christmas, and that's where we take all the merch proceeds and we sponsor our own table. In other words, we'll pack the food into these meal kits, but we have to sponsor the table, and so we buy all the food, and then everyone comes to pack it. And so the proceeds go to buying that food, paying for the supplies, and then we'll have 30, 40, 50 people come sometimes and pack the food, as many meals as we can pack, and I think it's 2 hours. And they put that into buckets or boxes sometimes. I think they sell buckets. I think they put them into boxes and fill up a whole pallet and then ship them all over the world. Right now, I think they're focusing on Haiti, Ukraine, and somewhere else, I forget. But just anywhere there's hungry people. So it's very fulfilling to see all the folks come out from across the community and to see the proceeds going to something bigger than just selling T-shirts on the internet. So, yeah, we're having a good time with it.
And I think that's the cool aspect is you've turned paddling a plastic boat down a river into something, it's contributing to something greater than any of us.
Yes.
I think that's what I think really kind of sticks out for me, especially because obviously we love kayaking, we love the outdoors, we love having fun, but it's also cool to give back and to contribute to something that's larger than any one of us. So we've got a whole bunch of people in the chat, so I will open it up. If anybody's got questions, put them down in the chat so we can ask them to Pete, because this is your opportunity. We're putting them on the hot seat.
I've got one here. Before we get to that,
there's Ryan.
There's Ryan.
Hey, Ryan. Tell her welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. Can you hear it? A little bit. We're all on headphones, but this is the River Princess Ryan. She was just checking in on me.
I love it. So before we get, we do have one question we want to get to, and I'm sure there's going to be more. Talk about the creator angle, because you've got this community, you go out, you have awesome trips. People want to be part of these trips, but you're also a creator when it comes to making these videos, building a community with different ideas, having the bell, having different things happen in the chat. And you're also very consistent. with your videos every Sunday night, 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. Eastern time. There is going to be a River Kings something, whether it's a video, whether you go live, whether you invite people to come on with you. Talk about the creator aspect and then the importance of your consistency.
So I guess probably the driver for all of that, if you ask River King Greg, his nickname for me is the power hungry little midget. So I am aspiring to world domination through kayak camping videos or kayak videos. So they got to keep coming. So people joke like, how's it going? It's like, on my trek to world domination, one video at a time. So it's kind of a joke, but basically what I found is if you make videos, people watch them. And I love, and so I'm a competitive person, so I like to see things do well. But I also I won't give up the aspect of I'm going to make the video that I want to watch. And so that keeps it fun for me. I'm not making a video to chase an algorithm. I'm not keeping it to 7 to 8 minutes or whatever the algorithm says you're supposed to do. I'm not doing it their way. I'm doing it my way. So it kind of keeps it from getting old, because if you're really not loving it, it's hard to do. And some weeks are tougher than others. Some weeks they're just real life takes over and there's almost no time, or there's no time to put a video together. And so we'll do a live chat or something. But
tarp video.
By and large, yeah, tarp video or something, a little review. But no, I've enjoyed the process of making it. It's an outlet for me, kind of an artistic expression. We talked a little before. I'm a musician. I'm a drummer. I used to do a little art, dabbled in art as well. So there's an artistic side to me that enjoys the art of making the video. And so I kind of try to make them that way. It's not just blasting with a review or scene. It's got to feel like, it's got to be something I would want to watch and kind of have that, I don't know, the story, is another aspect. I love telling stories, so I'm going to make a video where I can tell the story. And if I can't tell a story, it just seems empty to me. So, and I have my mom to blame for that. She watched that first Greenbrier video and she goes, the scenery's nice, but none of us know what's going on. I'm like, I was like, well, yeah, it's like, it was for us to remember the memory. She goes, well, we would like to know what was going on too. Maybe you can narrate it. And I was like, listen to your mother. That's rule number one. So the next video I did was the New River video. And I kind of went overboard. So if we're going to do it, let's do it. And it kind of was a mix of Band of Brothers, Lord of the Rings, and kayak camping. And I kind of had this crazy story going. And the river was called the Beast. And, we were doing battle and people would swim or not swim. And, if they swam, then they paid the toll to the Beast. And, it just kind of kept it flowing. And one of my buddies, Chris, he's my millennial in the OG crew. But he would skim the videos, even the ones he was in, because it just wouldn't hold his attention. And he called me one day. He's like, bro, these are great. It's like a video book. Like, I just keep it on when I'm driving. I'm not even looking at it. I'm just listening to the story. It's like I can't turn away. I was like, well, maybe it's good. And then someone else I would know, like, bro, the talking, you got to get rid of that. It's terrible. I can't listen to you. Video. So I didn't know who to listen to. So I was like, well, I kind of like it. So I guess I'll keep doing it. So I think that's one thing that kind of helps engage with folks, and kind of helps for me to be able to put the content out, is that I get to tell a story. And so it's fun. And you guys are all the story. Whoever goes boating, that's the story. So keeps it fresh.
And it sounds like to me, yeah, people truly are a part of it. And I love looking at this from the outside, because I could just tell, even in the chat here, you do have a Band of Brothers in Shannon. I'm not sure if Shannon is a male Shannon or a female Shannon.
He's a male Shannon.
Male.
He's a male Shannon. Okay, it is he's
an alpha male.
It is truly a Band of Brothers, and you've truly created something that even I want to be a part of. I want to understand the language. I want to know what's going on, and I think your videos are fun. And if I'm not asleep before 9 p.m. on Sundays, I usually am like, oh, Pete's going to be on tonight. Let me see what's going on. So I know that everybody truly appreciates it. But we do have some questions.
Sure.
This one was back a little bit. This is from Steve. What is the worst river you have ever been on?
Worst river.
Hmm.
Okay, so this is a funny story. The worst river I've ever been on is the Deep River. Not the expedition, but I went with there's a guy who came out to an event called Get Your Paddles Wet, and they wanted me to come as like a guest, to paddle with folks. So I was like, sure, we can do that. And so he announced River Kings are going to come there, and turns out this guy named Josh Yao and his wife donated a grill to the cause. They were trying to help raise money for someone who had some health concerns and a family that was going through some stuff. And so, yes, so at the event, Josh's wife says, "Hey, can we get a picture of you with the guys?" I was like, "Sure." So, we put our arms around each other, and she goes, "They call themselves the Turtlehead Boys." I was like, "The what?" And and Josh was like, "No, that's just an inside thing." I was like, "Not anymore." It's like, "Hand me the GoPro." So I was like, "I'm here with the Turtlehead Boys," and that was Turtlehead Josh, great guy, great group of dudes. Well,
They
he
are
invited
great.
me. Yeah, he invited me to go paddling sometime, and it was one of those things where I was trying to find a time to get out, and then I had an afternoon, a Saturday, nothing was going on. I was at home, and I think he messaged me or something like, "Hey, the Deep River's in. Do you want to go?" I was like, "Sure, let's go." Never paddled on it. The section they chose was probably the most featureless section of the entire Deep. And so we go out there, the water's up, so the water's brown, just like mud puddle brown, and featureless. It's just moving. And I got on there, and we weren't close friends. We just were acquaintances and becoming friends. So there wasn't a lot of conversation. I didn't know the other 2 or 3 people at all. So the whole time I'm like, how am I going to make a video out of this? And I was just thinking, like, maybe not all river trips make it to the video. It's kind of was in the back of my mind because the scenery wasn't good. It was like winter or turning to spring, so there was no foliage, brown, and then mud banks. It just wasn't appealing to the eye. And nothing happened on the trip. Everyone just kind of boated by themselves because there wasn't a lot of talking. Turns out we found a boat in the water, and it looked like someone had been using it when it was capsized. And so now we're like, uh-oh. Then we found like a life jacket hanging in a tree. Then we found a paddle. They're like, oh no. And now we have a story. So that was at the moment when I was paddling, I thought this is going to be the worst river trip I've done maybe in a while. Not for the company, just the river itself. And then the finding of that boat and subsequently the search for the paddler, make sure it wasn't someone stranded in the water or worse. And we checked all the accesses, check with the police department, make sure there wasn't any call-ins or any people sent out. There was no trucks at any of the put-ins up and down the river the entire way. So we didn't want to call in search and rescue because we didn't know that, someone was missing but I said, if you do get reports of it, here's my number and all this stuff. And we found the guy and we got his boat back to him. And that video turned out to be the biggest viewed video of a river trip that I have. So you just never know. The worst trip can be the best trip, and it turned out to be a fantastic day and a fantastic memory. So
Right on.
there's really, any river's a good river. You just got to look for the beauty.
Which goes back to put the video out, right?
Just
That's
put it
right.
out there.
You put it out. Just
You
put it
don't
out.
know.
Just put the trip out.
Well, Shannon has
I
a
love the
question.
deep. Sure.
Shannon says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned were you when you swam on the Chioa? It looked very scary.
So the Chioa is a no swim zone. You need to not be swimming on the
No
Chioa.
bells.
It's a no bell zone, and I love the Chioa. So it's one of my favorite rivers. But you need to not be swimming there. It's a very, very difficult river to swim safely, if that makes sense. Some rivers are drop pools, so when you swim the drop, you're in the pool below and you have time to collect your life and get your things together. The Chill is not that. It's pretty much straight on class. I'd say just class 4 with some, bigger stuff and a little smaller stuff. But it's just raging coming down the mountain, class 4. And it's dewatered most of the time. So there's trees growing in the riverbed itself. So that becomes a big hazard. So you don't need to swim in the Chioa. The second that happened, I would say I was at a 4 leaning to 5 of concern. Because I knew I was in the Chioa. Not good. But I can get to the bank. And after 200 yards of getting chundered down this river, beat over rocks, I could feel my legs and whatever was hanging low as you're tumbling, whatever was hanging a little bit low in the water, I could feel like little crevices trying to grab it for like a foot entrapment. And I was like just keep everything at the surface and trying to keep my nose and toes up and everything. But some of that's out the window. You're just trying to get to bank. So it became like a 7. And then as I started not being able to breathe as frequently as I wanted to, because there was now water in my lungs, and I physically couldn't get to the bank because there's a bank effect where the water tumbling off the bank kind of makes a line that you can't break through to get to the bank. And so you kind of stay about 8 feet off, 6 feet off sometimes. Then it became like an 8.5. I was thinking like, okay, at some point I need to just wash into something like a tree or a rock and then Wade, my buddy, Wade Harrison, made a pivotal rescue by it really couldn't help me much, but he boated to the shore, grabbed a tree, and held my paddle out. So I grabbed the end of my paddle from him, and he kind of swung me in through that bank effect you get. And I was able to get to shore probably another 50 yards downstream of there. So right at that point, let's say 8 to 5, leaning to 9, it was starting to get a little bit critical. And then I got onto the bank and coughed water and gagged for a little bit. And then all was good. I felt like I needed about an hour to recover, but I didn't. I had about 5 minutes, and I had to start helping get my boat. So that was the Chioa is a very dangerous river for swimmers. An awesome river, just don't swim. So yeah, it is what it is.
Well, listen, in Austin and Jester style, we are hard to believe over an hour, and because I've been in the chat on your channel. And watch some of these videos, I guess we'll end on these questions, which are jokes, I am sure of it. Who has seniority and something about Alaska? So whatever you want to do with that. I am positive these are like ongoing things.
All right. Yes. And that's all the time we have. We're going to go ahead and wrap this
up. So
you end it how you want to, Pete.
Oh, yeah. I'll start with the seniority. The first senior member of the OG River Kings was Greg. He came on everything. And as life happens to do sometimes, schedules don't always mesh. Greg's schedule became more difficult to plan with, and then it became Brian that was going on every single trip. So he was the senior member. And but what we noticed, as soon as you achieve seniority, you're gone. Like it's some kind of weird phenomenon. And so Brian achieved seniority. No question, he was the guy. And then a little life happened, and he had to take care of some things at home, and it was kind of out of the mix for about 1.5 years. And so and that moves in Kevin. So now Kevin's the senior guy, and we're going right up the chain. And we were joking with him on the deep that now that you're the senior guy, this is your last trip. Turns out
it was.
Kevin didn't go on this last one, so now it's Dirt Dauber. And so now we're like, well, Dirt Dauber.
Sorry, Kevin.
This is your senior trip. So next trip will be Austin's last trip, I guess, is how it works out.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
no, it's kind of a joke, but it's very cutthroat to get on the trips anyway. I kind of like to try to keep it to a small circle of friends, and that circle of friends is growing a little bit. So even amongst like the inner circle, if you will, there's a very pronounced posturing that occurs within the group of who is who and where you stand on the totem pole. Is pretty funny.
That's a really nice way of putting it, posturing.
Yeah, they're posturing. Like,
sometimes that's some cutthroat posturing.
And
it's all in good fun.
I think River King Brian answered this last one. He says you talk about Alaska on every trip, and he means every trip.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, so
yeah,
totally off base.
So
Yeah.
yes.
Such a random thing to say.
They're waiting to see how many times I talk about this subject. I'm not even gonna say the word. I'm gonna surprise them all.
And there was some
Can't do it.
chatter earlier about Canada is really close to Alaska, so you got to stop that too, I guess.
Yeah, well, we're wanting. I told the guys early the ultimate, the end goal of all this was to get them ready to go do the entire Yukon from Canada through Alaska, because that's what the boats are designed for, and that's the ultimate river trip for me. And at first I think they thought I was just spinning some yarn, but now I think it's kind of within the realm of possibility. Some of the guys are biting in on it, and so I think we can go to more northerly reaches where there's true wilderness, in lots of mountains, grizzly bears, salmon, all these big places. Canada being one of them, and of course whatever else may fit into the equation there. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it.
You want to so bad. I know you do. It's just leaking out of your pores.
Well, we can leave that for this coming Sunday evening at 9 p.m. That chatter will continue over on the River Kings channel. And wow, Pete, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. I do have one picture to show you.
Awesome.
Whoops.
Oh, look at that. Where is that? Where was that photo taken?
Just somewhere.
The wandering electrician says you'll call him after the show and say it.
It might be true.
Well, Pete, you know what? I lied. I have another question. So you've built the community. You have a great group of guys you go out with. And sounds like you have aspirations for a true expedition, all jokes aside. What's next for the channel? Do you have any aspirations for the channel, any aspirations of more growth, or just keep doing what you're doing?
Yes. So I guess when I started, there's no goal for growth in mind. It's just like, hey, people are watching this. This is fun. And then more people are watching, then more. And my daughter keeps it real, and she reminds me that all real channels have like 42 million subscribers, and I'm really nothing. So I think I actually would like to see 100,000 subscribers so I can get a play button from YouTube, so I have street cred with my daughter. That seemed to work for my buddy Ken Whiting. Paddle TV is another great channel. Ken Whiting's a fantastic human being, and he just recently passed 100,000 subscribers, which is a big deal for a kayaking channel. And that was the same joke. He's like, yeah, maybe I'll have street cred with my daughter. It's like, I'm saying the same thing. And because the kids are hard on you. So
I'll just put it out there. Paddle TV has a camera person. Just maybe there's a correlation there. He's got a guy that does his camera work for him. Just putting that out there.
Julie, this is the kind of posturing I'm talking about right here. Oh man. So yeah, I just keep growing, be fun. As far as the ultimate dream, I guess in the back of my mind that I guess nobody would want to not enjoy would be that if I could somehow support myself through YouTube and my wife wouldn't have to work and we could travel around kayaking with all our friends all the time, that would be the ultimate dream. I don't know if that's a reality that ever set in. So I'm not really aspiring to that, but I do want to keep having fun with it as long as I can do and keep meeting all the great folks out there and making fun videos and helpful videos and everything we've been doing. And I think we just try to keep it going as long as possible. And maybe one day I'll have street cred with my daughter. So that's all I got.
Well, I'm just glad we got a chance to meet her. And there's a four-legged animal that keeps appearing in the picture. So now you got to tell us who the four-legged animal is. River, got a name for the dog?
Bailey, the wonder dog. That dog came at a good time in my life. We had 4 little dogs that we had for like 18 years. They finally got old, and the last 2 we had to put down for health reasons. And so the wife and I, we had them as long as we were married. We've had dogs, and I just wanted to break. But the kids never really got to experience a fun dog because our dogs were already kind of too old when they became old enough to play with them. So, we were taking a break though. I didn't need another dog for a while, and especially not one like this one, and or this one. Sorry. Um, and then one day Ryan went to turn off the front porch light, and she said there was a dog looking in our window. I was like, huh? So I looked over there, and there this dog was looking in our front window, like, please let me in. I'm cold. And I was like, no way. Like, and it's obviously some sort of pit bull and a puppy. So like, that's not coming in the house. And we laid blankets out, and it knocked the bushes, the planters with bushes over. It knocked them over all night, knocked chairs around. Just this big goofy dog, puppy stage, and just knocking everything over. And it's like everything I didn't want in a dog is out on my front porch. And in the morning, I woke up and it was gone. I was like, "Shoo, it's gone." Dodged a bullet there. Because that night when I walked out to see if it had a collar or what was going on, I looked in the window and all of them were like, I was like, no, absolutely not. So in the morning, they was gone. I was like, okay, good. Walked out to start the car. It's on the back porch, just shivering, just frozen, because it was the last cold morning of spring. And I said, okay, I gotta warm it up. So just until it warms up, and then we got to do something with it. Told Austin about it, and he told me it was cute that I thought I wasn't going to keep this dog. So he saw it early. I tried to find this owner. I mean, it was obviously freshly lost or dumped or something. No chip, no collar, knew how to sit, clean, wasn't muddy. My buddy Jerry thought he saw it about 5 miles ago, or 5 miles away the day before. But in any case, we were having to go to vacation for spring break, and my wife's like, hey, we can't board this dog. We either give it to a dump or the pound, or we got to take it to the vet, or they won't board it. And so I was like, well, I don't want to take it to the pound. That's just a death sentence for these dogs. So I was like, I guess we'll take it to the vet. Like, well, it has to have a name. I was like, we didn't know what a name was. She was making some Bailey's cream cake, like special pound cake at the time, and she like literally was pouring the Bailey's, and it's the same color. She goes, how about Bailey's? Like, sounds good. And so
let's just go on vacation.
It's the coolest dog. It's one of the coolest dogs I've ever had. She's awesome. I love that dog. And they say there's no bond stronger than between a father and the dog he didn't want. And it's 100% true. This is my dog. And we're just buddies. She goes everywhere with me now, and the kids love her. She's just a good fit for the family. So this is Bailey, and the dog I never wanted is the best dog ever. So,
well, we got a chance to meet your daughter and the dog, so life is good.
She is a pitador, by the way. We could not know. So she's 70% pit bull, 30% lab, and 100% sweetheart. So yeah, but fantastic.
Awesome. All right. Anything else, Austin?
No, I appreciate everybody for joining us tonight. The interaction and the back and forth with the chat today has been probably our best so far. Granted, this is only 100%, episode 6.
Yeah,
this is only episode 6 of Beyond the Trail podcast, but this one's been fun. I really appreciate everybody coming back.
I've tried to keep up a little bit, but it's hard to talk when you're supposed to look at the little dot and also read the thing. So sorry I hadn't been able to chime in like normal, but thank you to all you guys who came and brought the life to the party, and thanks to you guys as well for having me on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll say you don't have to be a kayaker to enjoy the River Kings channel. You just need an interpreter. But this episode will help you greatly. So Pete, hang on. Austin and I are going to close it out, but don't go anywhere.
Before you close it out, you had a surprise for me. I have a surprise for you. Austin and I are taking you kayaking. You're going to be the star of your own YouTube video, so prepare yourself. It's happening.
That is hilarious. I'm in.
Get that bell ready.
Wait a minute. That's right.
Love it.
That thing, somebody had 13. I'm going for 14.
Oh, man, yeah. He would love for you to take that from him.
Listen, I got a story for you. So you like coming to the Whitewater Center here in Charlotte, right?
Sure. Yeah,
so the last time I went rafting was on one of those small boats that, are supposed to be so fun and this, that, and other. It's going to give you this crazy experience, right? So the last time I was there, I was in one of those wild boats, and I was flipped out of the boat and rowed all the way around the Whitewater Center. Not
Perfect.
in the boat. So there you go.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Swimmer. Love it.
Good times.
Good times.
Uh-oh. Yeah. River King Brian, get ready to swim. I'm ready. I'm ready. I've been around the Whitewater Center. What's worse than that?
The Chihuahua.
Chihuahua.
All right.
Going under a log in
Awesome.
the deep.
I look forward to it. And if you got a kayak, I'm in.
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
roll.
We got kayaks.
All right, Pete, hang on one second. I'm in. I didn't know I was going to get invited to go. You guys that are listening to this in the chat, I have been invited. You're out. Somebody's out. Do we vote now who I replace?
Ooh, I know who I'd
Ooh.
vote for.
Okay. Sunday night, this coming Sunday. There is a vote. So anyway, that was a lot of fun, Austin.
Yeah, good times.
yeah.
It's always an easy. Like I said, Pete's kind of been one of those formative influences as my channel has developed, and he's one of the few people that I can send a video clip to, and he's not going to tell me it's great. You know, a lot of people will be like, "Oh yeah, oh it looks amazing." Pete's going to be like, "No, you need to fix this, this, and this," or "I really didn't like this." So the honest feedback has been one of the things that's helped me get better as a creator as well. So. Yeah, I really just appreciate him coming on. It seems fitting as we develop this podcast that we have people like Pete on there that have helped us get there. So yeah.
Yeah,
times.
absolutely. And speaking of this podcast, and speaking of Austin and I's inconsistency, where Pete is very consistent, Jester and Austin are very inconsistent. Oh, wait, did I say Pete was consistent? Yeah, I want to make sure I get that right.
Yep.
So June 22nd, we are going to have episode number 7 with a young lady by the name of Heidi Nisbet, and her Instagram channel is Sketching Summits. And she is a wonderful artist she makes amazing art, and she does stickers. So if any of you out there, I know a lot of you have stickers. She creates original artwork and stickers. And we're going to talk about her journey from being on the trail to going beyond the trail. So that is going to be our next episode. And Austin is digging around, I think, for one of her stickers.
I think I already put it on something.
Okay.
Oh,
you
no,
did.
here we
All
go.
right.
Here we go. I bought more than one. I knew I bought more than one. So this is one of Heidi's stickers. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus on it. Come on, camera. Probably not.
Dun, dun, dun.
But anyway,
there we
yeah,
go.
there it goes.
Now
There it
that
goes.
looks good.
Yeah, so this is one of Heidi's Mountains of Sea Trail stickers. And so she creates all this original artwork, and that's kind of her style of artwork, and then creates these amazing looking stickers. But she does way more than just stickers. If you look at her Instagram feed, she just did a mural in Damascus at Trail Days that looks amazing. So yeah, very excited. I've never actually gotten to speak with Heidi. It's always been just kind of living through Instagram and that kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Awesome. I'm excited. I'm going kayaking with
You are
River
going
King
kayaking.
Pete and Austin. You guys, we got to set this up. Now, don't trick me now. This can't be a trick. I'll be disappointed.
You won't swim. You'll be
I'm
fine.
All right. Until next time, June 22nd, we truly appreciate you guys being here. We appreciate you joining. We appreciate Pete. So be safe out there, everybody. In Austin.
Good times.